Commander Jake Morrison rubbed his tired eyes and stared at the screen again. He had been working for 12 hours straight in the Deep Space Communications Center on Luna Base Prime. The moon's surface stretched endlessly outside his window, gray and empty under the distant stars. Another quiet night, he muttered to himself. For 3 years he had been listening to the void, hoping to hear something other than static and cosmic noise. Earth had sent signals into space for decades, but nothing ever answered back. The item coffee maker beeped softly in the corner. Jake stood up and walked over to fill his cup. As he poured the hot liquid, a strange sound came from his equipment. It was different from the usual background hum. Jake rushed back to his station and put on his headphones. The sound was definitely not natural. It had patterns like someone was trying to say something. His heart started beating faster. After all these years of silence, this could be it. "Lisa, get down here now," he called into his communicator. Dr. Lisa Parker was the best language expert they had. If anyone could figure out what this signal meant, it would be her. Lisa arrived 15 minutes later, still wearing her pajamas under her lab coat. Her hair was messy from sleep, but her eyes were wide awake when she heard the recording. "Play it again," she said, sitting down at the analysis computer. The signal repeated every 47 seconds. It lasted for 12 seconds each time, then silence. Then it started over. "It's definitely artificial," Lisa said after listening for 10 minutes. "Someone made this signal, but the language is completely unknown." Jake felt excited and scared at the same time. "Can you translate it?" "I need more time." "But Jake, this signal is coming from very far away, at least 40 light years from Earth. Whoever sent this has technology we can only dream about." Lisa worked through the night while Jake called Admiral Kate Sullivan, the head of Earth's Defense Force. The Admiral was not happy about being woken up at 3 in the morning, but when Jake explained what they had found, she became very interested. "Keep working on it," Admiral Sullivan ordered, "and keep this quiet until we know more." For the next 2 days, Lisa barely slept. She used every computer program and language database Earth had. Slowly, very slowly, she began to understand pieces of the message. "It's a distress call," she told Jake on the 3rd morning. Her voice was hoarse from exhaustion. "Someone is asking for help." "What kind of help?" Lisa showed him her translation notes. The word they use most often translates to something like extinction or ending. Someone is trying to wipe them out. Jake felt cold. "Who's trying to kill them?" "They call them the hegemony. It seems to be some kind of large government or empire that controls many star systems." Lisa continued working. Each day she understood more of the message. And each day the translation became more frightening. "Jake, you need to hear this," Lisa said on the 5th day. She had dark circles under her eyes, but her voice was clear. "I've translated most of the message now." She pressed play on her computer. A mechanical voice read out the translation. "This is the last vessel of the Zelani people. We broadcast this message to all who might hear. The hegemony has destroyed our worlds. Our people are dying. We are the final survivors of a race that once numbered in the billions. We ask for help from any who might listen, though we know none will come. The hegemony controls 60% of known space. No one dares to fight them. No one except, perhaps, the mad ones from Sol. The feral Deathworlders who were quarantined long ago. If any of the Sol dwellers can hear this, please know that we die with honor. We die fighting." Jake stared at Lisa. "Sol dwellers, that's us. They're talking about humans." "Yes, but Jake, listen to how they describe us. Mad ones. Feral Deathworlders. Quarantined. They know about us, but they're afraid of us." "Why would they be afraid of humans? We've never even left our own solar system except for a few small colonies." Lisa shook her head. "I don't know, but there's more." She played another section. The records speak of Sol 3, the death world where the mad ones live. A planet of poison air and crushing gravity, where the creatures fight constantly and survive in conditions that would kill most civilized beings. The early scouts reported that the Sol Dwellers are too dangerous to contact. They wage war on each other for sport and eat the flesh of their enemies. They are quarantined for the safety of all civilized species. Jake laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. They think we're monsters. But Jake, they're also asking for our help. They're so desperate that they're willing to call on the monsters. Jake contacted Admiral Sullivan immediately. Within hours, the Admiral was on Luna Base Prime, listening to the full translation with her senior staff. "How far away is this signal coming from?" Admiral Sullivan asked. 47 light-years, Jake replied. "A place called the Zalani Home System." "And you're sure this is real?" Lisa nodded. "The signal is definitely artificial. The language patterns are consistent, and the technical knowledge shown in their message is far beyond anything we could fake." Admiral Sullivan was quiet for a long time. Finally, she spoke. "If this message is real, then we're not alone in the universe. And apparently everyone else is afraid of us. What do we do?" Jake asked. The Admiral stood up and walked to the window. Earth hung in the black sky, blue and beautiful and peaceful. "We've always wondered what we would do if we found intelligent life in space. Well, now we know. They're dying, and they're asking for help. But Admiral, we don't even know if we can get there. 47 light-years is further than any human has ever traveled." Admiral Sullivan turned back to face them. "Then we better figure out how to do it. Captain Ryan Torres has been testing our fastest ship, the UES Defiant. It was designed for long-range exploration. If anyone can make that journey, it's him." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. "Are we really going to try to rescue them? Commander Morrison, for centuries humans have wondered if we were alone in the universe. Now we know we're not. And we know that someone out there needs our help. The question isn't whether we're going to try. The question is whether we're going to succeed." Admiral Sullivan activated her communicator. "This is Admiral Sullivan. I need to speak with Captain Torres immediately. And get me a direct line to Earth Command. We're going to need every ship we have." As the Admiral made her calls, Jake looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, 47 light-years away, an entire species was dying. And somehow they thought that humans, the mad Deathworlders from Sol, might be crazy enough to help them. He was beginning to think they might be right. Captain Ryan Torres stood on the bridge of the UES Defiant and watched the stars disappear. The ship's jump drive hummed with power as it bent space around them. In a few seconds, they would travel further from Earth than any human had ever gone before. "Jump complete," reported Lieutenant Commander Amy Collins from her position at the tactical station. "We are now 47 light-years from Earth." Ryan looked at the main screen. Strange stars filled the view, none of them familiar. After traveling for 6 months to reach this point, they had finally arrived in Zalani space. "Any sign of the distress signal?" Ryan asked. Dr. Ben Harris, the ship's doctor and science officer, checked his instruments. "I'm picking up the signal. It's much stronger now. The source is about 2 million kilometers away. Take us there," Ryan ordered. As the Defiant moved through space, Ryan thought about the journey that had brought them here. Earth had never built a ship like this before. The Defiant was twice as large as their normal exploration vessels and carried weapons that had never been tested in real combat. "Captain, I'm detecting multiple ships ahead," Amy reported. Her voice was tense. "Some of them are firing weapons. Put it on screen." The main display showed a terrible sight. 3 large, dark ships were attacking a group of smaller vessels. The smaller ships were clearly losing. Several were already destroyed, floating in pieces among the stars. The smaller ships matched the design described in the Zalani message, Dr. Harris said. "Those must be the refugees." "And the bigger ships?" Ryan asked. "Unknown design, but they're definitely hostile." As they watched, one of the large ships fired a bright beam that cut a refugee vessel in half. Ryan felt anger rise in his chest. These were the ships destroying the Zalani people. "Those must be hegemony forces," Amy said. "Should we contact them?" "No," Ryan said firmly. "We contact the refugees first. Open a channel on the same frequency as their distress signal. Dr. Harris worked at his console. Channel open, Captain. This is Captain Ryan Torres of the Earthship Defiant. We received your distress call. We're here to help. For several seconds, there was only static. Then a weak voice answered in broken English. Earthship? Impossible. Soul dwellers do not leave their death world. We're here now, Ryan replied. How many survivors do you have? 12 ships, maybe 3,000 people. We are all that remains. Of the Zilani. Ryan felt sick. 3,000 people out of billions. We're going to get you out of here. No, the alien voice said. You must run. The hegemony ships will destroy you. Your small vessel cannot fight them. Ryan looked at Amy. She was studying the enemy ships on her screen. Captain, the hegemony ships are much larger than us. They have heavy weapons and strong shields. But they're moving very slowly. How slowly? Like they're not expecting a fight. They think they're just hunting refugees. Ryan smiled grimly. Then let's give them a surprise. Amy, prepare all weapons. Target the closest hegemony ship. Sir, are you sure? We don't know how powerful their weapons are. Only one way to find out. Fire when ready. The Defiant's weapons blazed across space and struck the nearest hegemony ship. The enemy vessel's shields flared bright blue, then failed completely. The human weapons punched through the hull and caused explosions deep inside the ship. Direct. Hit, Amy shouted. Their shields are down and they're losing power. The hegemony ship seemed confused. They turned slowly toward the Defiant, but their movements were clumsy and predictable. They fight like they've never faced real opposition, Amy observed. Look how they position themselves. No cover, no tactical movement. Ryan understood. They're used to fighting people who can't fight back. Amy, full attack pattern. Show them what a real fight looks like. The Defiant dove toward the hegemony formation like a hawk attacking mice. Amy fired the weapons in rapid bursts, hitting different targets each time. The human ship moved in ways the enemy couldn't predict, using speed and tactics the hegemony had never seen before. Within 10 minutes, 2 hegemony ships were destroyed, and the third was retreating at full speed. Should we pursue? Amy asked. No, our priority is the refugees. Ryan opened the channel to the Zilani ships again. This is Captain Torres. The hegemony ships are gone. You're safe for now. The alien voice that answered sounded shocked. How? How did you defeat them so easily? Those were hegemony battlecruisers. We'll explain later. Right now, we need to get you somewhere safe. Do you have a secure location you can reach? There is a hidden base in the asteroid field of our old home system, but it is far from here. We'll escort you there. What's your name? I am Kethvar, speaking for the survivors. Captain Torres, may I ask you something? Go ahead. The old records say that soul dwellers are savage and dangerous, that you fight wars for pleasure and eat your enemies. But you came here to help. Us why? Ryan thought about that question. Because someone asked for help and we could give it. That is not the answer I expected from a Deathworlder. What exactly is a Deathworlder? You do not know? Your world, Sol 3, is classified as a HFY Deathworld. The gravity is 3 times normal. The atmosphere is poison to most species. The weather systems are violent and unpredictable. And the creatures that live there, including your people, are considered extremely dangerous. Dr. Harris looked up from his console. Captain, I'm getting some interesting readings from their ships. Their artificial gravity is set to about 1/3 of Earth normal, and their atmosphere is mostly nitrogen and argon. Ryan began to understand. Kethvar, what's the gravity on your homeworld? Standard gravity, 0.31 of your Earth measurement. And your atmosphere? Clean and pure, not like the toxic mixture you breathe. Amy laughed. They think our air is poisonous and our gravity is crushing. Kethvar, Ryan said, what do your people weigh on average? A healthy adult is about 25 kilograms. Dr. Harris did quick calculations. Captain, that's about 55 pounds. I weigh more than 3 of them combined. Ryan was starting to see the bigger picture. Kethvar, how do your people usually fight wars? Fight? We do not fight wars. Civilized species negotiate. Violence is only used by primitives and criminals. What about the hegemony? They are different. They use violence to control others. Most species surrender rather than face destruction. Fighting them is considered impossible. But you're fighting them. We had no choice. They came to our worlds and demanded surrender. When we refused, they began killing our people. We are not warriors, Captain Torres. We are scholars and artists and builders. We do not know how to fight a war. Ryan felt a deep sadness for these people. They were peaceful and intelligent, but they had no idea how to defend themselves against bullies. Kethvar, how many species are part of the hegemony? Over 300 that we know of. They control 60% of known space. And how many fight back? None. Fighting the hegemony means death. Until today, I had never seen hegemony ships defeated in battle. The convoy of refugee ships began moving toward their hidden base. The Defiant took position alongside them, ready to defend against any new attacks. As they traveled through space, Kethvar explained more about the galaxy. The hegemony ruled through fear and superior technology. They would arrive at a world and demand surrender. If the people refused, the hegemony would destroy their cities until they gave up. Most species surrender immediately, Kethvar said. It is logical. Why die when you can live as servants? Because some things are worth dying for, Ryan replied. That is what makes you Deathworlders so dangerous. You will die for ideas that exist only in your minds. Freedom, honor, justice. These things are not real, but you treat them as if they were more important than life itself. Amy looked at Ryan. Sir, I'm beginning to understand why they're afraid of us. Ryan nodded. A galaxy full of people who always surrender when threatened, and then there's us. The mad ones from Sol, Kethvar said quietly. Perhaps the old records were right about you, but perhaps they were wrong about what dangerous means. As the refugee convoy continued toward safety, Ryan realized that humanity had just entered a war they knew nothing about, but they were about to teach the galaxy something new about what it meant to fight back. President Michael Jang stood in the emergency meeting room deep under the White House. Around the long table sat the most powerful people on Earth. General Patricia Coleman, head of all Earth's military forces. Director Steve Johnson from Earth. Intelligence. Dr. Linda Foster, the government's top scientist, and dozens of other leaders from every nation on the planet. The message from Captain Torres had arrived 3 days ago. The first contact with alien life had happened, and it was not what anyone expected. Let me make sure I understand this correctly, President Zhang said, looking at the report in his hands. We are considered dangerous monsters by the rest of the galaxy. They quarantined our entire solar system because they were afraid of us. And now they want our help because some empire is destroying peaceful species. General Coleman nodded. That's right, Mr. President. According to the Zelani refugees, the hegemony controls over 300 species across 60% of known space. They rule through fear and violence. And nobody fights back? Nobody except us, apparently. Captain, Torres destroyed 2 hegemony warships in less than 10 minutes. The aliens had never seen anything like our fighting tactics. Director Johnson leaned forward. Mr. President, our intelligence analysis suggests this is both a threat and an opportunity. The hegemony knows about Earth now. If they see us as a danger, they might try to destroy us before we can become stronger. How long before they could reach Earth? The President asked. We don't know. But if they have ships that can travel 47 light-years quickly, they could be here sooner than we think. Dr. Foster opened her tablet and showed charts to the group. I've been studying the data from Captain Torres. The physical differences between humans and other species are remarkable. We're 3 to 5 times heavier than most aliens. We can survive in gravity that would crush them. Our atmosphere would poison them, but we can breathe almost anything. What does that mean for us? It means evolution made us into what they call Deathworlders. Earth is a harsh planet compared to most worlds in the galaxy. High gravity, dangerous, weather, poisonous air, and violent wildlife. Only the strongest creatures could survive here. General Coleman stood up and walked to the wall display. Dr. Foster's research explains why our military tactics work so well against them. They've never faced opponents who fight like us. How do they fight? They don't really. Most species in the galaxy are peaceful. When threatened, they surrender or run away. The hegemony just shows up and demands surrender. Usually everyone gives up without a fight. President Zhang felt a chill. And when we don't surrender? Then they learn what real fighting looks like. The president was quiet for several minutes. Finally, he spoke. What are our options? Director Johnson answered first. We could try to hide, keep quiet and hope the hegemony doesn't notice us, but they already know we exist. We could try to negotiate, Dr. Foster suggested. Maybe we can reach some kind of agreement. General Coleman shook her head. From what Captain Torres reported, the hegemony doesn't negotiate. They demand surrender or they destroy everything. What's the third option? President Zhang asked. We fight, General Coleman said simply. We use our advantages as Death Worlders to protect ourselves and help other species. Can we win? Maybe. We have advantages they don't expect, but we'll need to move fast. President Zhang stood up and walked to the window. Even though they were underground, he could imagine the blue sky and white clouds above. Earth looked peaceful from space, but it had produced the most dangerous species in the galaxy. General Coleman, what would you need to prepare Earth for war? Everything, sir. We need to build more ships, train more soldiers, and develop new weapons. We also need to work with our allies. Our allies? The species that the hegemony is oppressing. Captain Torres says there are dozens of them. If we can convince them to fight alongside us, we'll have a much better chance. Director Johnson added, we also need intelligence. We need to know how many ships the hegemony has, where their bases are, and what their weaknesses might be. Dr. Foster raised her hand. Mr. President, I'd like to start something called the Death Worlder Project. We need to understand exactly what makes humans different from other species. If we can figure out our advantages, we can use them better. President Zhang returned to his seat. How long do we have? We don't know, General Coleman admitted. But I recommend we act as if they could attack us at any time. The president looked around the table at all the worried faces. These were the smartest and most experienced people on Earth, and they were all scared. But he could also see something else in their eyes. Determination. I want recommendations from all of you within 24 hours. General Coleman, begin immediate mobilization of all Earth forces. Director Johnson, find out everything you can about the hegemony. Dr. Foster, start your Death Worlder project immediately. As the meeting broke up, President Zhang stayed behind with General Coleman. Patricia, can we really do this? Can we fight an empire that controls half the galaxy? General. Coleman smiled grimly. Mr. President, humans have been fighting impossible battles for thousands of years. We fought each other when we should have been working together. We survived ice ages and plagues and wars. We've never backed down from a fight, even when the odds were against us. This is different. This is bigger than any fight we've ever faced. Yes, sir. But for the first time in human history, we're not fighting other humans. We're fighting for humanity itself, and for other species who can't fight for themselves. Over the next few weeks, Earth transformed completely. Old enemies became allies overnight. The American, Chinese, Russian, and European fleets merged into one unified force. African nations provided rare minerals for shipbuilding. South American countries opened their factories to produce weapons and equipment. Dr. Foster's research revealed incredible things about human biology. Humans could survive injuries that would kill most aliens. They could function with pain levels that would paralyze other species. They could adapt to environments that other creatures found impossible. We're not just physically stronger, Dr. Foster explained to the president. We're mentally different too. Other species avoid conflict. Humans see conflict as a challenge to overcome. General Coleman was building the largest military force Earth had ever seen. Ships from every nation joined the new Terran Defense Fleet. Soldiers who had been enemies weeks before now trained together. The key is surprise, General Coleman told her staff. The hegemony thinks they know how to fight. They use big ships and heavy weapons to scare people into surrendering, But they've never fought anyone who hits back. Director Johnson's intelligence reports painted a clear picture of the enemy. The hegemony had thousands of ships, but they were spread across hundreds of star systems. Most of their forces were used for controlling populations, not for fighting wars. They're like bullies, Director Johnson reported. Strong when facing someone weaker, but they've never dealt with real opposition. Captain Torres sent regular updates from his rescue mission with the Zalani refugees. He had encountered 3 more hegemony patrols and defeated all of them easily. Word was spreading through the galaxy that something new was happening. Species that have been enslaved for decades are starting to ask questions, Torres reported. They want to know who these soul dwellers are and how they're defeating hegemony forces. President Zhang realized that Earth was at a turning point. For centuries, humans had wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now they knew they weren't alone, but they were unique. They were the only species that fought back. In his address to the world, President Zhang spoke simply. We didn't ask to be the galaxy's protectors, but we're the only ones who can do the job. The hegemony rules through fear and violence. Today we show them what real strength looks like. Dr. Foster's final report was both frightening and encouraging. Humans are the apex predators of the galaxy. Every other intelligent species evolved from prey animals or peaceful herbivores. We evolved from hunters. We're the only species that sees a bigger, stronger enemy and thinks, how can I beat them, instead of how can I run away? As Earth's fleets prepared to launch, President Zhang looked at the stars and wondered what they were starting. Humanity was about to announce itself to the galaxy in the only way it knew how. Through action, not words. Through courage, not surrender. The sleeping giant was waking up, and the galaxy would never be the same. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood on the bridge of the UES Liberation and watched 12 different star systems appear on her tactical display. Each system had a red marker indicating hegemony control. In 30 seconds, those markers would start turning. Blue as human forces attacked. All fleet commanders report ready, her communications officer announced. Kate took a deep breath. In her 40 years of military service, she had never commanded an operation this large. 60 Earth ships were about to attack 12 different systems at the same time. It was the largest military action in human history. Begin Operation Death World, she ordered. Across the galaxy, human forces jumped into combat. Kate's own target was the Procyon system, where the hegemony had enslaved 2 million aliens and built a massive weapons factory. The hegemony defenders were caught completely off guard. Their sensors showed human ships appearing from nowhere, moving at speeds they thought impossible, and using tactics that made no sense. Enemy ships are trying to ram us, shouted a hegemony commander on an intercepted transmission. They're flying directly into our weapons fire. Kate smiled grimly. What the hegemony saw is insane. Humans called aggressive tactics. Human ships were built stronger and could take more damage. When a human captain saw heavy enemy fire, he flew through it instead of around it. Captain Danny Mitchell was leading the most dangerous part of the operation. His Special Forces team had jumped into the Kepler 442 system, where the hegemony kept political prisoners from dozens of species. Boarding pods away, Danny reported over the radio. His voice was calm despite flying directly toward a heavily defended space station. Danny's team used tactics that no other species had ever tried. Instead of fighting ship-to-ship battles from a distance, humans attached small pods to enemy vessels and cut their way inside. Then they fought room by room until they controlled the entire ship. Hegemony crew is surrendering, Danny reported 20 minutes later. They've never seen boarding tactics before. Most of them just ran away when we started cutting through. Their hull. Commander Sarah Blake was running an even more dangerous mission. She had spent 3 months infiltrating hegemony space, pretending to be a traitor from a neutral species. Her ship looked alien, but inside it was packed with human surveillance equipment. Sarah to command, she whispered from her hiding spot on a hegemony command ship. I'm inside their main operations center, you need to hear this. She transmitted a recording of hegemony leaders talking. The translation revealed their complete confusion about human tactics. How do we fight an enemy that doesn't follow any logical rules? One hegemony admiral was saying. They sacrifice their own ships to destroy ours. They attack when they should retreat. They fight when they should surrender. Perhaps we should negotiate, suggested another voice. With Deathworlders, impossible? They don't understand reason, they only understand violence. Then we give them violence. Send the entire Fifth Fleet to Sol. Destroy their homeworld before they can grow stronger. Sarah's blood ran cold. The Rim hegemony was planning to attack Earth with their largest fleet. She immediately sent a warning message, then began sabotaging the command ship's computer systems. Meanwhile, in the Tau Ceti system, human and alien forces were fighting together for the first time. The local species, called the Mekani, had been enslaved for 30 years. When human ships arrived and began attacking hegemony forces, the Mekani couldn't believe what they were seeing. "This is impossible," said Tethko, a Mekani who had been secretly organizing resistance. "No one fights the hegemony directly." "We do," replied Major Frank Rodriguez, leading a team of human soldiers. "And now you're going to learn how." The humans taught the Mekani basic combat tactics, how to use cover, how to coordinate attacks, how to keep fighting even when injured or scared. "Your people are insane," Tethko told Frank during a break in the fighting. "You just charged directly at a hegemony fortification while they were shooting at you." "That's how you win," Frank explained. "You do what they don't expect. They expect people to run away or surrender. They don't expect people to attack. But many of your soldiers were hurt." "Yes, but we kept fighting anyway. That's what scares them. They can hurt us, but they can't stop us." The battles raged for 6 days across 12 systems. Human forces were outnumbered everywhere, but they won every major engagement. The secret was that hegemony forces had never faced real opposition before. Zeftai was a hegemony commander who had been successful for 20 years. He had conquered dozens of worlds simply by showing up and demanding surrender. But now he was learning what real war felt like. "They don't fight like any civilized species," he reported to his superiors. "When we damage their ships, they use the damaged ships as weapons. When we wound their soldiers, they keep fighting. When we surround them, they attack in all directions." "Are they trying to win or just trying to die gloriously?" his superior asked. "I don't know anymore. But I know this. Every time we fight them, we lose ships and people. Every time they fight us, they get stronger." The turning point came at the Battle of Wolf 359. Admiral Sullivan had brought her entire fleet to face the largest hegemony force ever assembled, 300 enemy ships against 60 human vessels. "They think numbers will win," Sullivan told her captains. "Let's show them what Deathworlders can do." The human fleet charged directly into the center of the hegemony formation. Instead of fighting a careful defensive battle, they split the enemy force in half and attacked both parts simultaneously. "Admiral, we're taking heavy damage," reported Captain Jones from the UES Defiance. "Can you still fight?" "Yes, ma'am, my ship is half destroyed, but all weapons are still working." "Then keep firing." The battle lasted 8 hours. When it was over, the hegemony had lost 200 ships and retreated with the rest. The humans had lost 12 ships, but none had surrendered. News of the victory spread quickly through the galaxy. Species that had been enslaved for decades began to whisper about the Deathworlders from Sol. Some began to fight back against their hegemony masters. Captain Mitchell's rescue operations had freed over 50,000 prisoners from hegemony camps. These liberated aliens told stories about human soldiers who never gave up, who kept fighting no matter how badly they were hurt. "They fought through injuries that would kill most of us," said Velran, a rescued prisoner. "One human soldier had a broken arm and was bleeding from multiple wounds, but he still carried me to safety." Commander Blake's intelligence reports revealed that the hegemony leadership was in chaos. They had never faced an enemy that fought back effectively. Their entire military doctrine was based on intimidation, not actual combat. "They're starting to withdraw forces from frontier systems," Blake reported. "They're pulling back to defend their core worlds." The most important change was happening among the oppressed species. For the first time in generations, they believed that the hegemony could be defeated. "The Zelani refugees have become symbols of hope," reported Captain Torres. "Species that haven't fought back in decades are asking them how to contact the humans." Dr. Foster's analysis of the battles showed why humans were so effective. We're not just physically stronger, she explained. We have a different relationship with pain and fear. Other species stop fighting when they're hurt or scared. Humans use pain and fear as motivation to fight harder. Admiral Sullivan received reports from all 12 battle zones. In every system, human forces had achieved their objectives. Hegemony forces were retreating. Prisoners were being freed and enslaved species were beginning to resist. Phase 1 is complete, she announced to Earth Command. We've proven that the hegemony can be defeated. Now comes the hard part. President Zhang's response was immediate. What's the hard part? Now we have to figure out what to do with half the galaxy looking to us for leadership, and we still have to deal with that hegemony fleet heading toward Earth. As Sullivan prepared for the next phase of the war, she realized that humanity had crossed a line. They were no longer just defending themselves. They had become the galaxy's hope for freedom. The sleeping giant was fully awake now, and it was angry. The hegemony had ruled through fear for centuries. Now they were about to learn what it felt like to be afraid. Ambassador Ellen Price stood in the great hall of what had once been the hegemony's Capitol building. 6 months ago, this place had been the center of an empire that controlled half the galaxy. Today, it was hosting the first Galactic Freedom Council with representatives from over 200 species. The war had ended 3 weeks ago when the last hegemony fleet surrendered to Admiral Sullivan near the Vega system. What started as a rescue mission for the Zelani had become the liberation of an entire galaxy. The human delegation recognizes the representative from Altair Prime, Ellen announced from the speaker's platform. She was still getting used to her new job as Earth's first galactic diplomat. Zenthara, a tall alien with blue skin and 4 arms, stood up to speak. We wish to formally thank the humans for freeing our world from hegemony control. We request membership in the Free Species Alliance. Request. Approved, Ellen replied. It was the 47th such request this week. Fleet Admiral Jake Morrison, who had been promoted from his old job monitoring space signals, entered the hall with an urgent message. Ambassador Price, we need to speak privately, Ellen called for a break and followed Jake to a smaller meeting room. With them was Tom Bradley, Earth's new Director of Colonial Affairs, and Kethvar, who now served as the main liaison between humans and the former hegemony species. What's the problem? Ellen asked. Good news and bad news, Jake replied. The good news is that we've received formal surrender documents from the last 3 hegemony holdout systems. The war is officially over. And the bad news? 17. Different species have asked us to help them settle territorial disputes. 23 others want us to help rebuild their governments. And 41 species have requested human military protection while they establish new colonies. Tom Bradley sighed. In 6 months, we've gone from unknown species to the most powerful force in the galaxy. Everyone expects us to solve their problems. Kethvar spoke up in his careful English. You must understand, most of these species have been enslaved for generations. They do not know how to govern themselves or defend their worlds. They look to you because you are the ones who freed them. Ellen sat down heavily. When she had accepted this job, she thought she would be negotiating with 1 or 2 alien governments. Instead, she was trying to organize an entire galaxy. How are our colonies handling the expansion? She asked Tom. Better than expected. We've established 47 new human settlements in the past 6 months. Most of them are on worlds that other species consider too dangerous to live on. Jake laughed. Death worlds. Perfect for death worlders. The amazing thing is how quickly we're making them livable, Tom continued. Human engineering teams are turning hostile planets into garden worlds in just a few months. Other species say it's impossible, but we're doing it anyway. Kethvar nodded. The galaxy has learned that when humans say something can be done, it will be done, even if it seems impossible. Ellen looked at reports from across human space. Earth's population was spreading faster than anyone had imagined. Humans were settling on high-gravity worlds, planets with toxic atmospheres, and systems with dangerous radiation levels, places where no other species could survive. What about the former hegemony leadership? Ellen asked. Most of them have requested asylum. Jake replied. They're terrified that their former subjects will seek revenge. We've agreed to protect them in exchange for complete cooperation with war crimes investigations. Are we actually going to protect them? Yes. It's what humans do. We protect people, even our former enemies. This decision had caused controversy both on Earth and among the liberated species. Many aliens couldn't understand why humans would protect the very leaders who had oppressed them for centuries. Because, President Zhang had explained in his galactic address, justice is different from revenge. We fight to protect the innocent, not to punish the guilty. Ellen returned to the Great Hall where the Galactic Freedom Council was still meeting. The afternoon session was dedicated to establishing trade agreements between species that had never been allowed to communicate with each other under hegemony rule. The Centauri delegation offers to share their agricultural technology in exchange for human mining equipment, announced the speaker. Accepted, replied the representative from the Tau Ceti colonies. These negotiations would have been impossible under the hegemony. The old empire had kept different species isolated from each other, trading only with hegemony officials. Now, for the first time in centuries, the galaxy was becoming a true community. Dr. Linda Foster had arrived from Earth to present her latest research on human and alien biology. Her findings had amazed scientists across the galaxy. Humans can survive in environments that would kill 90% of known species, she explained to the assembled delegates. But more importantly, humans can help other species adapt to hostile environments. We're developing technologies that will let anyone live anywhere. This was already happening on dozens of worlds. Human engineers were building domed cities on the airless planets, underwater colonies on ocean worlds, and floating platforms in the atmospheres of gas giants. Places that had been considered uninhabitable were becoming new homes for refugees from the war. The most dramatic change was in how species viewed conflict. For generations, the galaxy had been taught that violence was primitive and uncivilized. The hegemony had used this belief to control everyone. We have learned something important from the humans, announced Elder Sithrak from the Procyon Council. Sometimes fighting is necessary to protect what is precious. We request human instructors to teach our young people basic self-defense. This request was repeated by dozens of other species. For the first time, peaceful aliens were learning that they could fight back against bullies and oppressors. Ellen was most proud of the protection treaties. 41 species had signed agreements with Earth for mutual defense. It wasn't an empire like the hegemony. It was a voluntary alliance based on cooperation and shared values. Any species can leave the alliance at any time, Ellen explained to a group of reporters. We're not conquerors. We're partners. The biggest challenge was managing humanity's rapid expansion. In just 6 months, human settlements had spread across 200 star systems. Each colony was independent but remained connected to Earth through trade and communication. We're not building an empire, Tom Bradley told the Colonial Council. We're building a network of free human communities that can help each other and work with alien neighbors. The former hegemony species were amazed by this approach. They had never seen a powerful species that didn't try to control everyone around them. As the day's session ended, Ellen walked onto the building's observation deck. The planet's capital city stretched out below her, showing the amazing changes of the past 6 months. Human construction teams worked alongside aliens to rebuild what the war had destroyed. Children from a dozen different species played together in the streets. Former enemies now traded goods and shared technologies. Kethvar joined her on the deck. My people's prophecies spoke of a time when the stars would be free, he said quietly. They said salvation would come from the most unexpected place. I never imagined it would come from the species we all feared most. Ellen smiled. We're not scary once you get to know us. Perhaps. But you are still dangerous. Dangerous to bullies and tyrants and anyone who thinks might makes right. Good, Ellen replied. The galaxy needs to stay dangerous for the right reasons. 5 years later, Ellen stood in the same spot and looked out at a completely transformed galaxy. Earth led an alliance of 300 species spread across thousands of worlds. The old hegemony territories had become thriving democracies. Former slave worlds were now centers of art, science, and trade. Humans were no longer called Deathworlders as an insult. The term had become a badge of honor, representing courage, determination, and the willingness to protect others, no matter the cost. New threats had emerged from beyond the galaxy's edge, but they faced united opposition. Species that had once cowered in fear now stood together with their human allies, ready to fight for their freedom. Ellen received a message from Earth. Another alien distress signal had been detected, this time from a distant galaxy where an oppressive regime was destroying peaceful worlds. She smiled as she read Admiral Sullivan's response. "The Terran Expeditionary Force is ready to deploy. We've got this." The sleeping giant was fully awake now, and the universe was a safer place because of it. Humanity had found its purpose among the stars, not as conquerors, but as protectors, not as rulers, but as friends to those who needed help. The Mad Ones from Sol had become the galaxy's hope, and they would never let that hope die. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, watching the massive space station grow larger on his screen. He had seen many impressive sights during his 20 years in space, but nothing like this. The station was huge, bigger than Earth's moon, and it sparkled with lights from a dozen different alien races. "Sir, we're getting another message from the station," said Lieutenant Karen Davis from her position at the communications desk. Her voice was nervous, and Jake could understand why. This was humanity's first contact with the Galactic Space Council, and everyone aboard the ship felt the weight of representing their entire species. "Put it through," Jake said, straightening his uniform. The main screen flickered and showed a tall, crystal-like being that seemed to glow with its own light. Its voice was cold and mechanical when it spoke. "Human vessel, you will dock at Bay 77 Alpha. Your delegation will be escorted immediately to the council chambers. Do not deviate from your assigned path." The transmission ended abruptly, leaving the bridge in uncomfortable silence. Jake looked around at his crew. They were all good people, but they looked worried. He couldn't blame them. "Well, that was friendly," muttered Commander Lisa Carter from beside him. Lisa was Earth's top military strategist and had been chosen to accompany this mission. She was a small woman with sharp eyes that missed nothing. Jake had worked with her before and trusted her judgment completely. "They didn't exactly roll out the welcome mat," Jake agreed. He turned to his pilot. "Take us in, Lieutenant Ross. Nice and easy." The docking process went smoothly, though Jake noticed the alien. Technology was far beyond anything humans had developed. The docking clamps moved with perfect precision, and the airlock sealed without even a whisper of escaping air. When the doors opened, they were met by two guards that looked like they were made of living metal. "Follow," one of them said in perfect English, though its voice sounded like grinding gears. Jake, Lisa, and their small diplomatic team followed the guards through corridors that seemed to stretch forever. The station was incredible. The walls were made of some kind of material that shifted colors as they walked, and the ceiling showed a perfect view of the stars outside. Other aliens passed them in the hallways, creatures that Jake had only imagined in his wildest dreams. There were beings made of pure energy that floated past like ghosts. Others looked like giant insects walking on their back legs. One group appeared to be living plants that moved with slow, deliberate steps. Each species ignored the humans completely as if they were not worth noticing. "Charming bunch," Lisa whispered to Jake as they walked. The guards led them to a massive chamber with a domed ceiling that showed the swirling colors of the galaxy's center. 12 seats were arranged in a circle, each one designed for a different type of alien. Most of the seats were already occupied. The largest seat held a creature that looked like a mountain of crystal. Its faceted surface reflected the lights in the room, creating rainbow patterns on the walls. This was Speaker Thex Val of the Veltharians, though Jake didn't know that yet. Floating near another seat was a being made of pure energy, constantly shifting between different colors. It had no solid form, but Jake could feel its attention like heat from a fire. This was one of the Zephyrite, creatures that had evolved beyond the need for physical bodies. Other aliens filled the remaining seats. Some Jake could understand, like the ones that looked almost human but with blue skin and 4 arms. Others were completely beyond his understanding, like the creature that seemed to be made of living shadow, or the one that appeared to be a collection of floating geometric shapes. Humans, the crystal being spoke, and its voice echoed through the chamber like thunder. You stand before the Galactic Space Council, governing body of civilized space. I am Speaker Thexaval. Jake stepped forward. He had prepared for this moment, practiced his speech dozens of times. Honored Speaker, I am Captain Jake Morrison, representing the people of Earth. We come in peace, hoping to establish friendly relations with the galactic community. A sound like breaking glass came from the crystal being, and Jake realized it was laughing. Several other aliens made sounds that might have been amusement in their own languages. You misunderstand your situation, human, Thexval said. You are not here to establish relations, you are here to answer for your crimes. Jake felt his stomach drop. Crimes? What crimes? The energy being spoke next, its voice like wind through a canyon. You have violated the cosmic non-interference doctrine. Your species has expanded too rapidly, too aggressively through space. You have disturbed the natural order. Lisa stepped up beside Jake. With respect, we were not aware of any such doctrine. No one told us these rules existed. Ignorance is not an excuse, said another alien, this one looking like a giant spider made of metal. Your kind has spread to over 50 star systems in less than 2 centuries. Such rapid expansion is forbidden. Thexval raised one crystal appendage, and the chamber fell silent. But that is not your greatest crime, humans. We have reports of strange ships in your space, vessels that appear and disappear without using any known form of faster-than-light travel, ships that seem to phase in and out of reality itself. Jake tried to keep his face neutral, but he felt Lisa tense beside him. They both knew what the aliens were talking about, though it was supposed to be humanity's greatest secret. We demand to know about these void ships, the energy being continued. What dark technologies have you developed? What forces are you tampering with? I don't know what you're talking about, Jake said, though he could hear the lie in his own voice. The crystal being's laugh was like an avalanche. Do not insult our intelligence, human. Our sensors have detected impossible energy signatures in your space, ships that exist partially outside normal space-time. You will tell us about these dark technologies or face the consequences. Thexval stood, and the chamber filled with a sound like singing crystal. The Galactic Space Council hereby orders humanity to retreat to your home system immediately. You will accept permanent quarantine and cease all space exploration beyond your own star. You have violated laws older than your species, and you will face corrective action if you refuse. Jake felt the blood drain from his face. You're talking about the imprisonment of our entire species. We are talking about maintaining galactic stability, the spider-like alien said. Your kind is dangerous, unpredictable. You have technologies that should not exist. You will comply, or be made to comply, the energy being pulsed brighter. You have 72 standard hours to begin your withdrawal. Any human ships found outside your home system after that time will be destroyed. Lisa stepped forward, her military training taking over. And if we refuse? Thexval's crystal body flared with light. Then the combined fleets of 12 civilizations will ensure your compliance. Do not test our resolve, humans. Species have been eliminated from existence for far less than what you have done. Jake looked around the chamber at the alien faces, staring down at them. Some showed curiosity, others contempt, but all showed the same certainty that humanity would bow to their demands. We need time to consider your ultimatum, Jake said carefully. You have 72 hours. Thexaval repeated. Use them wisely, this council session is concluded. As the guards escorted them back to their ship, Jake walked in stunned silence. Humanity had reached for the stars only to find they were controlled by powers beyond imagination. But as they reached the docking bay, Lisa touched his arm and whispered 5 words that changed everything. Protocol 7. Prepare the Ghost Fleet. General Ryan Collins sat in his underground office 3 miles beneath the Colorado mountains. The message from Admiral Carter had arrived 30 minutes ago, and he was still staring at the screen. Protocol 7. Those 2 words meant humanity was facing total destruction. He pressed a button on his desk, and the wall behind him opened to reveal a hidden elevator. Ryan stepped inside and descended even deeper into the mountain. When the doors opened, he walked into a facility that officially did not exist. "General Collins," said Dr. Elena Rodriguez as she hurried toward him. Elena was a small woman with tired eyes and gray hair, though she was only 45 years old. The stress of running the Phantom Project had aged her quickly. "I got your emergency signal. Is it time?" "The aliens know about our ghost ships," Ryan said without introduction. "They're giving us 3 days to surrender or face complete destruction." Elena closed her eyes and took a deep breath. 20 years of secrecy, and it comes down to this. They walked together through corridors lined with laboratories and testing chambers. Scientists and technicians hurried past them, all working on projects that could change the course of human history. This was Deep Space Command's most classified facility, where humanity's greatest secret had been born. "Tell me again how this all started," Ryan said as they reached the main laboratory. Elena smiled sadly. "You know the story as well as I do, but I'll tell it anyway." She led him to a large window that looked down into a testing chamber. Inside, a strange black field flickered in and out of existence. 20 years ago, Dr. Nathan Price and I were trying to create a new type of engine. We were working with exotic matter, trying to bend space-time in small ways. Dr. Nathan Price looked up from his computer console and waved at them through the window. He was a tall, thin man who always looked like he had not slept in days. Next, to him, Commander Amy Foster was running calculations on another screen. Amy was a former space pilot who had become an engineer when an accident grounded her from active flight duty. Nathan was running a test on a piece of dark matter we had collected from deep space, Elena continued. The experiment went wrong, or maybe it went exactly right. Instead of destroying the lab, the dark matter created a stable field that seemed to exist partially outside normal space. Ryan watched the black field pulse and shift. Even after all these years, it still made him uncomfortable to look at. And that's when you discovered what it could do. "We put a probe into the field," Elena said. "It disappeared completely from all our sensors, but we could still control it through quantum entanglement. The probe could move through solid matter, like it was not there. It could appear and disappear at will. We had accidentally discovered how to phase objects into dark matter space." They moved to another window that showed a small spacecraft sitting in a testing bay. The ship looked normal except for the strange black coating that covered its hull. "The first test flights were disasters," Elena admitted. "The pilots experienced severe hallucinations, memory loss, and complete mental breakdowns. We lost 3 good people before we understood what was happening." Ryan remembered those early days. The families asking questions about their missing loved ones. The cover stories about training accidents. The guilt that still kept him awake at night. "But then we found the Wraiths," Elena continued. "People with a specific genetic combination that lets them survive in dark matter space. Only about 1 in 10,000 humans has the right genes, and even then the process is dangerous." Commander Amy Foster left her console and joined them at the window. "General Collins, we've been monitoring the situation. Major Sam Torres sent us a report from the outer colonies. He engaged a small alien fleet yesterday." "What happened?" Ryan asked. Amy's face was grim. "Complete defeat. Our best ships, our most advanced weapons, and they destroyed us without even trying. Their energy shield stopped everything we fired at them. Their weapons cut through our armor like paper." Ryan felt his heart sink. He had hoped that conventional human forces might have a chance against the aliens, but Amy's report destroyed that hope. "How many ships did Torres lose?" he asked. 12 destroyers and 6 cruisers, Amy replied. "Torres barely escaped in a damaged frigate. The aliens were playing with us, General. They could have destroyed his entire fleet in minutes if they wanted to." Elena put her hand on Ryan's shoulder. "That's why we built the Ghost Fleet. We always knew this day might come." They walked deeper into the facility, past laboratories, where scientists worked on dark matter technology. In one room, researchers studied the psychological effects of dark space exposure. In another, engineers worked on improving the phase generators that allowed ships to enter dark matter space. "Show me the pilots," Ryan said. Elena led him to a special wing of the facility where the Wraith pilots lived. These were humanity's most valuable and most damaged people. The genetic modifications and dark matter exposure that allowed them to pilot the ghost ships also changed them in fundamental ways. Major Kate Sullivan sat in a common room, staring at nothing. She was one of the first successful Wraith pilots, but the cost was clear. Her eyes held a distant look, as if she was seeing things that existed in other dimensions. When she spoke, her voice sounded like it was coming from far away. "General Collins," she said without looking at him. "I can feel them out there, the aliens. Their minds burn so bright in normal space, but they cannot see us when we phase. We are ghosts to them." Ryan sat down across from her. Kate had been a normal fighter pilot once with a husband and 2 children. The dark matter exposure had taken that away from her. Her family could not understand what she had become, and she could no longer relate to people who existed only in normal space. "Kate, we need the Ghost Fleet ready to deploy. Can your people handle a full combat mission?" Kate's eyes focused on him for a moment, and he saw the woman she used to be. "We've been ready for 20 years, General. We knew this was why we were created. To save humanity when no one else could." Other Wraith pilots drifted through the common room like living ghosts. There were only 47 of them in total, each one a volunteer who had given up their humanity to become something else. They moved differently than normal people, as if they were not entirely present in the physical world. Elena watched them with sad eyes. "They're our greatest achievement and our greatest tragedy. We created them to save our species, but we had to destroy part of what makes them human to do it." Ryan's communicator buzzed, and President Karen Walsh's face appeared on the screen. She was calling from the White House Situation Room, and he could see the stress on her face. "General Collins, what's the status of our secret assets?" "The Ghost Fleet is ready to deploy, Madam President. 12 ships, each crewed by our best Wraith pilots. They can phase into dark matter space and become completely invisible to alien sensors." President Walsh was quiet for a long moment. "And the cost?" Ryan looked at the Wraith pilots around him, these people who had sacrificed their humanity for their species. "The cost is everything, Madam President, but it's the only chance we have." "Then authorize deployment," she said. "May God help us all." As the communication ended, Elena activated the facility's alert system. Throughout the underground complex, lights flashed and alarms sounded. The Ghost Fleet was going to war. "Major." Kate Sullivan stood up from her chair, her eyes now sharp and focused. "It's time," she said to the other Wraith pilots. "Time to show the galaxy what humanity can do when we fight for our survival." Ryan watched as the pilots moved toward their ships, these broken people who had become humanity's last hope. In 12 hours, the Ghost Fleet would reach the Alien Council station. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity had secrets darker than they could imagine. The war for human freedom was about to begin, fought by warriors who existed between dimensions, piloting ships that could touch the very fabric of space itself. And somewhere in dark matter space, forces older than civilization were beginning to take notice of the disturbance humanity was about to create. The alien fleets moved through space like a storm of metal and fire. Admiral Fletcher Hayes stood on the bridge of the massive ship Eternal Dominion, watching hundreds of alien vessels form attack formations. He was a tall creature with 4 arms and blue skin, one of the Arctonian race that had served the Galactic Council for over 1,000 years. "Report on human military strength," Fletcher ordered his tactical officer. "Scans show approximately 200 human vessels scattered across 50 star systems," the officer replied. "Primitive nuclear weapons, basic energy shields, and simple railgun technology. They will offer minimal resistance." Fletcher nodded with satisfaction. This would be easier than he had expected. In his long career, he had never seen the Council use overwhelming force against such a weak enemy. 12 different alien species had contributed their best warships to this operation. The humans would surrender quickly once they saw the hopeless nature of their situation. The first target was Proxima Station, humanity's outermost military base. Captain Rick Stone commanded the Human Defense Force there, and he watched the approaching alien fleet with growing dread. His tactical displays showed energy signatures beyond anything in human databases. "Sir, we count over 300 alien ships," reported Lieutenant Dan Murphy from the sensor station. "They're all showing power readings 10 times higher than our biggest ships." Rick looked around his command center at the faces of his crew. They were scared, but they were ready to fight. These were professional soldiers who knew they were probably going to die, but they would make the aliens pay a price for human space. "All ships, this is Captain Stone," he broadcast to his small fleet. "We knew this day might come. We're going to show these aliens that humans don't surrender without a fight. For Earth." The battle began badly for the humans. Rick's ships fired everything they had at the approaching aliens, but their nuclear missiles exploded harmlessly against energy shields. The railgun rounds that had torn through asteroid pirates bounced off alien armor like raindrops. The alien response was devastating. Beams of pure energy sliced through human ships like knives through paper. Matter disruptor weapons made entire vessels simply ceased to exist, leaving nothing behind but empty space. In 20 minutes, Rick's fleet of 30 ships was reduced to burning wreckage. Rick's own ship, the destroyer Courage, was dying around him. Half his crew was dead, and the other half was fighting fires and trying to keep life support running. As alien ships moved in for the final kill, Rick sent one last message to Earth. "This is Proxima Station. We have been overrun. The aliens are too strong. Tell Earth we tried our best. Tell them to remember us." Admiral Fletcher watched the destruction of the human fleet with professional interest. The humans had fought bravely, he would give them that, but bravery meant nothing against superior technology. He was already planning the next phase of the operation when his tactical officer made an urgent report. "Admiral, we're detecting strange energy readings throughout the fleet." "What kind of readings?" Fletcher asked. "Unknown, sir. The signatures don't match any known technology. They seem to be coming from empty space." Fletcher frowned. His sensors showed nothing but empty space around the fleet, but the energy readings were definitely there. Before he could investigate, further reality itself seemed to tear open. The USS Phantom materialized inside the Eternal Dominion's shields like a ghost becoming solid. Major Kate Sullivan sat in the pilot's chair, her consciousness split between normal space and the dark matter dimension. Her ship existed in both realities simultaneously, allowing it to pass through solid matter like it was not there. "Target locked," she whispered, her voice carrying across dimensions. "Firing dark matter torpedoes." The weapons she fired were not made of normal matter. They were concentrated dark matter given form and purpose, existing partially outside the physical universe. When they struck the Eternal Dominion's core systems, they simply erased everything they touched from existence. Admiral Fletcher had one moment to realize his ship was dying, before the massive dreadnought imploded. The Eternal Dominion, pride, of the Arctonian fleet, folded in on itself and disappeared, leaving behind only confused alien survivors floating in escape pods. Throughout the alien fleet, chaos erupted as 11 more phantom ships appeared from dark matter space. These vessels moved like living shadows, phasing in and out of reality at will. They struck vital systems with surgical precision before vanishing back into the spaces between dimensions. The Veltharian crystal ships tried to fight back, but their energy weapons passed harmlessly through targets that existed partially outside normal space-time. The Zephyrite energy beings attempted to disrupt the phantom ships with their reality manipulation powers, but the dark matter technology was beyond their understanding. Captain Bob Turner piloted the USS Shadow through the heart of a crystalline super dreadnought. His ship's dark matter field allowed it to ignore the alien vessel's shields and armor completely. Bob had been a normal fighter pilot once, but the genetic modifications and dark matter exposure had changed him into something that could navigate spaces that didn't technically exist. "This is Shadow to all ghost ships," he transmitted across quantum channels that only the Wraith pilots could access. The aliens can't touch us while we're phased. Hit them hard and fast, then fade back into dark space. Dr. Elena Rodriguez monitored the battle from her underground facility on Earth. Screens around her showed the biometric data from all 12 Wraith pilots, and what she saw worried her deeply. The dark matter exposure was taking its toll faster than expected. Major Kate Sullivan's brain patterns were becoming increasingly erratic. The woman who had once been a loving mother now existed primarily in dark matter space. Her consciousness scattered across multiple dimensions. Her thoughts moved at the speed of quantum entanglement, but her humanity was slipping away with each passing minute. Kate's neural patterns are destabilizing, Dr. Nathan Price reported from his monitoring station. She's experiencing severe dimensional displacement syndrome. We might lose her completely. Elena watched the data with a heavy heart. Each Wraith pilot was precious, irreplaceable. There were only 47 humans in existence who could pilot the ghost ships, and they were burning out their minds to save their species. Can we pull her back? Elena asked. Nathan shook his head. She's too deep in dark space now. Her consciousness exists more in the dark matter dimension than in our reality. If we try to force her back, we might kill her. On her ship, Kate Sullivan felt her grip on normal reality slipping away. She could see the battle happening in dozens of different timelines simultaneously. In some realities, humanity won. In others, Earth burned under alien bombardment. But in all of them, the Wraith pilots paid the ultimate price for their species' freedom. I can feel them, she whispered, her voice echoing across dimensions. The other versions of myself. We're all fighting the same battle in different realities. We're all dying for the same cause. Admiral Fletcher's replacement, a spider-like creature named Commander Vextar, desperately tried to coordinate a defense against enemies that could not be fought with conventional tactics. His ships fired wildly at empty space, hoping to hit the phantom vessels by luck rather than skill. Deploy the quantum mines, he ordered. If we can't see them, we'll fill space with enough explosives to destroy anything that moves. But the ghost ships moved through the mines like they were not there, existing in spaces where normal explosives could not reach. The alien fleet found itself fighting shadows, battling enemies that appeared and disappeared without warning. Lieutenant Sarah Brooks piloted the USS Wraith through a formation of Zephyrite energy ships. Her vessel's dark matter generators allowed it to absorb the aliens' energy attacks and convert them into power for her own systems. She had been dead for 3 minutes during one dark matter experiment, and the experience had changed her in ways that doctors still did not understand. This is Wraith to Ghost Leader, she transmitted. My systems are showing massive energy buildup in the alien fleet. They're preparing something big. Kate Sullivan's fragmented consciousness detected it too. The aliens were charging weapons that had not been used in thousands of years, devices designed to anchor reality itself and force the phantom ships back into normal space-time. All ghost ships, prepare for emergency phase-out, she ordered, though her voice now sounded like it was coming from very far away. They're going to try to trap us in normal space. As ancient alien weapons began to distort the fabric of reality around them, the Wraith pilots faced their greatest challenge yet. They had shocked the galaxy with their impossible technology, but now the aliens were fighting back with powers that had conquered civilizations before humans ever looked at the stars. The battle for humanity's survival was just beginning, and the ghosts in the machine were running out of places to hide. Deep space trembled as more alien ships arrived from across the galaxy. These were not the regular council fleets, but ancient vessels that had been sleeping in hidden bases for thousands of years. The Arcanian mind ships looked like living brains, floating in space, their psychic powers reaching across star systems. The crystalline super-dreadnoughts were bigger than space stations, their diamond hulls reflecting the light of distant stars. Commander Vextar watched these legendary ships take positions around his battered fleet. He had called for help after losing over half his vessels to the human ghost ships, and the Council had responded by awakening weapons that had not been used since the Great Purge 3,000 years ago. Activate the reality anchors, he ordered, his communications officer. If these humans want to hide in dark space, we will drag them back into our reality. Massive devices emerged from the ancient ships, machines that looked like mechanical spiders made of pure crystal. These reality anchors had been designed by the first galactic civilization to prevent other species from using dimensional technology. They sent waves of force through space-time itself, making it impossible for anything to exist partially outside normal reality. Major Kate Sullivan felt the change immediately. Her consciousness, which had been spread across multiple dimensions, suddenly snapped back into her physical body like a rubber band. The pain was incredible, like having her soul torn apart and forced back together. All ghost ships were being pulled